Hey everyone, this is HAILEY from Cartoon Universe, and today I have a special treat for everyone because I'm going to be doing a Tangled theory. And as you have already likely noticed from the title of the video, I've chosen to talk about everyone's favorite alchemist, Varian. It wasn't really too hard to decide what to talk about since Varian is one of the most interesting characters in the show and perhaps even for cartoons in general. But first you might be wondering, who the heck is Varian? I don't remember him from the movie. Well, you are correct because Varian is not in the movie. In fact, most of what I'm going to be talking about today is not from the movie, but in fact from the currently airing cartoon, Tangled the series, which is actually now called Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure. But before you click away, I highly recommend you watch the show. Yes, it's about a princess and is considered a girl's show, but it gets surprisingly deep, and proof of this is this video you are watching right now. It's one of my favorite currently airing cartoons, and shows just how much love is put into the shows Disney currently makes. Contrast this to the shows based on movies 10 or so years ago, and there is definitely a big difference. So go watch the show if you haven't already, and then come back and watch this video. You'll thank me later. But for those that have already seen some of the show but are not caught up, here's a spoiler warning until around the beginning of season 2, but definitely all of the first season of the cartoon. So without further ado, let's talk about Varian. Starting off as a teenager eager to impress Rapunzel and especially Cassandra, Varian soon became a very serious threat. While he was apprehended at the end of season 1, we have good reason to believe he'll eventually make a return because he has unfinished business of both saving his father and getting revenge on all those that wronged him. But what I would like to talk about today, in particular, is the possible connection he may have to Rapunzel, who we know at this point in the show seems to have some magical destiny waiting for her. And according to this video, Varian's future is intertwined with Rapunzel's, making his role in the show just as important as hers. I'm going to explain a lot of lore for this series, so get ready for a lot of that. So to begin, I think it would be best to start off by explaining everything we know about the Sundrop flower and its counterpart, the moon opal. As explained in the original Tangled movie, the Sundrop flower was created when a single drop of sunlight fell from the heavens onto the ground, which is later where this golden flower sprouted. Mother Gothel first found it and discovered its healing abilities, which helped to keep her alive for hundreds of years. But one day, the Queen of Corona became sick and the flower was found and taken to her to save her life during childbirth. As a result, her new daughter has the powers that the flower did, as well as giving her extremely long blonde hair. This hair eventually gets cut and turns brown, but the television series brings back the long blonde hair, and with it a whole new set of abilities. Her hair is now indestructible, but can no longer heal others. This happened in Tangled Before Ever After, when Cassandra takes Rapunzel to the spot where the Sundrop flower was first found. In this area, black sharp rocks have appeared, and getting close to them caused her hair to return. And thus begins the series, which is about uncovering the mystery surrounding the return of her hair and how it is connected to the dark rocks. What we later learn is that when the king removed the Sundrop flower from its original spot, he released a devastating darkness through imbalance. And as we see in the first season, the rocks end up chasing Rapunzel to the point where she eventually has to touch them and unleash their full potential. But after that happens, the rocks have now started to form a path to a region called the Dark Kingdom. We do not yet know why they are making Rapunzel go to that place, but following that path is what Rapunzel, Eugene, Cassandra, and the rest of the group have been doing during season 2. The team also pieces together a few parts of a ripped scroll that has the sun and the moon on it. The sun drips down to the Sundrop flower, and the moon drips down to create the black rocks in the Dark Kingdom, making these two things clearly connected. And as sun and moon things usually go, one is usually the direct opposite or the mirror of the other. So what does all this have to do with Varian? Well, as we learned at the beginning of season 2, Varian's father, Kieran, once served King Edmund, the ruler of the Dark Kingdom. This was 25 years ago, long before Varian was born. However, black rocks were everywhere in the kingdom and had destroyed too many lives. The source of all this was believed to be the moon opal, which was being kept inside King Edmund's castle. However, when the king tried to destroy the opal, he, Kieran, and Adira were hit by a blast as a result. The king told Kieran and Adira to stop anyone who tried to get the opal, and they were forced to leave the kingdom. So for a long time Kieran had been associated with the opal, and many years later he has a son who we know to be Varian. And something interesting to note is that Varian has a blue stripe in his hair. This is very unusual, where in this world almost everyone has a natural hair color, with perhaps the exception being Adira, who has white hair but also may be special as well. There even seems to be a slight indication that Varian had the stripe when he was born, although it certainly wasn't as prominent as it is now. And his eyes match his hair stripe, giving him more in common with the black rocks coloration-wise than his own father. We don't know if his mother's eyes were blue, however. Could this be a side effect of Kieran absorbing some of the opal's blast, just as Rapunzel's mother caused Rapunzel to gain the Sundrop flower's powers when she was born? I would like to believe so. That would make Varian tied to Rapunzel on a much deeper level than we are initially led to believe. One represents the sun and the other the moon. They are inverses of each other in regards to how they look and their personality. It was even confirmed by executive producer Chris Sonnenberg that these parallels are intentional. Although one thing they do have in common are freckles, which are said to be a rare trait in Corona. I think that's a very clever detail associating the two together. So we really seem to have the classic yin and yang situation going on. And I'm not done pointing out the connections between them just yet. In a few of the dreams Rapunzel had, we see Varian. He acts as a messenger, telling her to face her destiny. And later he says that running away is not going to solve the problem. With everything I mentioned in mind, it makes sense that he would be the one to show up during such dreams. He has a direct connection to the Black Rocks, and in some ways they could be speaking through him. But I have yet to talk about what all this could mean. What is the point of the connection between the two? The most likely conclusion I have right now is that they will need to work together since history is bound to repeat itself. In Queen for a Day, the character Xavier tells the story of a legend about a creature that made a winter storm so big it destroyed everything in its path. It took the combination of both magic and science to create a machine that could change the direction of the wind to push away the creature. The machine was made by Lord Demantis, who was in a constant battle against the evil warlock Xantiri. While Xantiri may have been defeated once, it was also said that the storm he created will return when Corona is at its weakest. The Demantius device was used in Queen for a Day to get rid of the storm when it returned, but it's very likely that Xantiri will return. And when he does, I see it likely that Varian and Rapunzel, representing science and magic respectively, will need to work together to defeat this evil, as well as figure out the full mystery surrounding the Black Rocks. And you might be saying, Varian is not on Rapunzel's side anymore. Why would he help her? Well, I would say that there is a very big possibility for him to be redeemed because of a change of heart or through his actions for helping Rapunzel. I really like the idea that Varian also relates to the moon because it has phases in regards to the sun. He starts off good and in the light, and later goes against Rapunzel and into the dark. But eventually she will help him and get him to rejoin her side and come into the light once more. Even his name alludes to this fact since it means variable or versatile, meaning he'll go between both sides. So that covers pretty much everything I have regarding Varian and his future importance in the show. I found some other posts that give more insight into the parallels between Rapunzel and Varian, as well as a more detailed look at this theory. I will have those linked in the description. But I'd like to know everyone's thoughts on this theory. Do you think Varian will be able to use magic eventually just as Rapunzel does? Or will he forever only be a man of science? Tell me in the comments section. Also let me know if you'd like to see more Tangled the series videos in the future. I have a Tangled the series chat on my Discord, so make sure to check that out. The code for the server is CartoonUV. For my next video, I am planning on returning to the world of Villainous to discuss all the new occurrences in the orientation shorts that have appeared since my previous video, so stay tuned for that and make sure to subscribe and click the notification icon if you enjoyed the video. Have an animated day everyone!